And apparently what was said, they like whispered to somebody off to the side, I think he's on to us, sort of thing. Welcome back, everybody, to the Gimbal Guys podcast. I'm your host, Sam, along with my co-host, Nick. We're back at it again with another episode. But it's been a while since we've been in the studio. How you doing?
I feel like it hasn't been, but it feels like a long time.
Feels like a long time, definitely. Any fun things you've been working on that feel like sharing, I guess?
No.
No?
I'm just tired. Like,
yeah.
There's been a lot going on. Like, probably just too much to say, but it's taking a toll. I'm just tired.
I feel like the past like month and a half has been like straight office work for me, which is like kind of unusual. I usually don't get that much time to do that much office work and admin things. But then like this past week, it's just been a shoot every single day. And then now I'm like, dang, like this is hard. Like my body's feeling it. I feel physically exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's the industry that we're in.
Yeah, it happens. It comes in waves. And you're just in a high wave right now, clearly.
Yeah, clearly. Well, hopefully the high wave kind of like pays off towards like the end of the year and all that like office setup stuff.
It's valuable time.
Yeah, like you need all of that time. There were a couple of moments where I was kind of like, all right, like I've checked all these boxes. What do I do next? Which is kind of like, it's a good position to be in because then you can focus on some things that don't normally get a lot of time and attention, but it's also kind of just, it's taxing mentally in that way, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. We've got a fun one today. You have
Once
no
again,
knowledge.
I have no idea. No clue.
This is definitely a hot topic. A bunch of podcasts have been talking about this. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it just kind of like in wedding news, I guess. And you've talked about it a little bit before on your other podcasts. We're talking about Wedding Pro today.
Okay.
Specifically the knot and wedding wire. We're going to kind of dive into, you know, if it's beneficial for vendors, if it's beneficial for couples. And I want to actually talk a little bit about some numbers, specifically some of our numbers.
You're right. A lot of people have been talking about this recently.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's just very timely and just kind of like showing our experience with it so people can make kind of an informed decision. You know, if you're a vendor looking to advertise on the platform, if it's worth it for you or not. And if you're a couple looking to find vendors on the platform, if it's a kind of like useful resource. So I guess
fortunately we haven't had like a horrible experience like some people have. I think our experience is like middle of the road, pretty normal, I'd say.
Yeah. And we'll get into specifically kind of like numbers and data behind our experience and like what we can kind of like draw from it. But I guess let's start with kind of like some overview background. What are these platforms? What do they provide? So Wedding Pro is the knot and wedding wire combined. I think they were originally two different companies and then they kind of like merged to form.
I think everyone is familiar with the knot.
Yeah. They merged to form kind of like a mega wedding corporation. But I don't know what you would call them, like what category of
like
website
what
they'd
type
be.
of software thing. I don't know either.
I'm going to call it a vendor database or vendor search platform for couples. That's the main functionality that they have. But they also offer they have like newsletters, blogs, and things for couples, educational insights for couples. The Knot specifically allows you to build a wedding website that you can send out for your guests. They allow you to do kind of like digital RSVPs and a bunch of other like helpful things. And to my knowledge, it's completely free for any couple to use, any couple, bridegroom. I don't think they have to pay a dime to use any of their resources. How they make their money, though,
is off of us.
Is off of us. So what a lot of couples don't know is that when they're searching for vendors on these platforms, the vendors who are on the platforms, the ones towards the top of the search, and you usually search by type of vendor and location. And the ones who appear first have to pay to be
a
there.
lot of money to pay.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay to simply be on the first page, but then to be at the top of the first page, that's a whole different tier of pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't think there's a one size fits all for like there's no like set packages or anything like that. It's not like here's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I mean, maybe there is, but
I actually think there is.
There is, yeah. It's not public knowledge, at least.
Oh yeah, no. It's only if you're like in talks with them.
Yeah. Usually they kind of like build a custom-ish thing for you. But yeah, it's kind of like, and there might be some people who are kind of just like have free storefronts on there, but they're going to be on like the last page of the platform. So there's the Knot, the Wedding Wire. A couple other popular ones are Zola. And I don't have as much experience with Zola. I've heard some things about it. Mostly not great. And there's a new one I heard of called, I think it's Weazery.
Never heard of that.
I don't know much about it either. I've gotten a few kind of like marketing emails from them, but they seem to be more like a luxury focused version of these platforms, and they seem to be a little bit newer, a little bit greener. I've seen Emma K Films like post something about them before.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she's like affiliated with them or whatever, but that's like another interesting platform. But yeah, the two big ones are the Knot, Wedding Wire. Zola's kind of like third up there as well. So, I mean, definitely beneficial for couples. Lots of educational resources. I mean, me personally planning my own wedding, we have a website on the Knot.
I feel like that's like the main, like the best thing that they can do there. Is you want a website, easy, make it for free on the Knot.
Yeah. And like the whole RSVP platform is great too, because you can eliminate the possibility of people just randomly inviting plus ones. It's kind of like you have to enter your name as it appears on your invite to kind of like accept the RSVP or something like that. I mean, I haven't started sending those things out yet. I just know you can do that. But very, very, very valuable for couples. And then obviously it's just another database of places where you can find your vendors. Like I said, though, you have to pay to be those top preferred spots. So it could be a little bit misleading for couples in some senses where it's kind of like they might think the ones at the top are like the best.
Just because they're on the front page does not mean they're the best. It just means they're willing to spend a lot of money to promote themselves.
Yes. And from when I look at it from the consumer side of things, a lot of those top companies, if you're looking at videography, photography specifically, a lot of those top companies are like bigger studio organizations.
Yeah, because they have a
with
lot of
huge
money
marketing
to spend,
budgets. Yeah. I don't know what that looks like from like the DJ side, florist side, hair, makeup, venue. I'm not sure, but I would imagine it follows a similar trend. Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically you can find vendors on these platforms, and then you can, as the couple, you can send an inquiry directly to the vendors through the platforms. And I guess this is kind of like where the controversy comes in. Obviously, these platforms are there for the vendors. Like the vendors have to pay for them because it's a way to generate leads. You essentially pay for leads.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a key thing. You pay for the leads,
not paying for conversions.
Exactly. And that's where they get you. And they also don't promise a specified number of leads.
They do not promise anything.
Yeah. Which is kind of like, you can't.
That's true. You can't. But
you can't promise you'll get like 20 new leads each month sort of thing. There's no way to control that if they're, real legitimate people, because they, you can't control the habits of the customers.
Right.
So the interesting thing and where the controversy is coming from the vendor side of things, a lot of vendors are not satisfied with these platforms at all because they're not really seeing a return on their investment. I mean, it's a significant dollar amount. And I mean, I'll actually go into kind of like what we,
I think it's gotten worse over the years. I feel like maybe like 4-ish years ago, 5 years ago, I feel like it was way more like held in like higher regards. And now that it's more common, I think it's gone downhill.
Yeah.
That's just
and I mean,
what I've seen.
Not fully the platform's fault, probably because there are more vendors on the platform, probably because, couples buying habits are changing. There's different demands in the industry. So, I mean, I wouldn't put all the blame on the platforms, but you know, when they see the opportunity for these dollar signs, they're surely not going to shy away from it, you know? So yeah, like a lot of people are reporting that they're not seeing their return on their investment. They feel like it's kind of scammy. And a big part of it is they feel like a lot of the leads that they're receiving are either fake or they're not quality leads, or they're fake.
Yeah.
And, you know, from our personal experience with it, I feel that a little bit.
We do.
I can see that. The main reason why I feel a little bit frustrated with these platforms is that the couples who are reaching out to vendors through the Wedding Pro platform can basically send a one-click canned message to that vendor that says, hi, and it kind of autofills, you know, your wedding date that you've given the platform already, your wedding venue, some of that basic information. It's kind of like, hi, our wedding is on this date at this place. Can you send us more information? And that's usually that's the limit of the message. Mm-hmm. We don't get much info from that other than the location and the date. So we don't know what the couple really is looking for. We don't know if they've had the chance to actually like look at some of their work, or if they're just kind of like spam messaging a ton of different vendors on the platform to see who answers first, who has the cheapest price, that sort of thing. So there's no real personal connection that we can build off of. And for us, like the personal connection piece is crucial. It's a part of how we connect with our couples and how we can convert them, honestly.
On the flip side though, like I don't necessarily blame the couples for like just blasting this out, because in my eyes, these platforms are designed for the couples, and the main thing is being convenience.
Right.
To be able to find vendors quickly and easily. So if they have the option to just send a one button message to a bunch of people to quickly get to like feel out the waters, like I don't necessarily blame them. Like that's kind of what the platform's for. It just sucks for our end to like not get the information that we would like to be getting.
Yeah, exactly. So this kind of like ties into our own personal experience with things. I mean, a lot of people are reporting that they're not converting any of these leads from Wedding Pro.
Yeah.
Or all of them are just kind of like not quality. They're these canned messages. They don't really get any information from the couple, and it just like the conversation kind of ends there. So going into kind of like specifically, you know, how much we pay into the platforms and what we're getting out of it. So our package cost right now, we started in spring of 2023. It's been a couple years, yeah. We were paying $508 per month in the spring. This last payment cycle that I think renewed, I want to say this past December, it went up to $560. Did that result in any extra business? Actually, no, which I'll go through in a little bit, but they just kind of like raised their rates on us. And I don't know if we got any prior notification. I'm sure they kind of have to in some way. It wasn't clear. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of the vendors who aren't on these platforms are getting solicited by the sales reps like month after month, kind of like, hey, join us, kind of like spammy. And then once you're in these platforms, there's no click to unsubscribe or click to cancel type thing. It's kind of like when you sign up for a gym membership and it's like impossible to cancel it. You have to like you have to get on another call with them and kind of like cancel it that way, which is a little shady because then they try to upsell you or give you a different rate or something like that. Kind of like, well, are you actually doing XYZ sort of thing? And when in reality, all you want to do is cancel. It becomes a crazy dance, which I guess backtracking a little bit. When you sign up for the platforms, it's not like you're signing up for a traditional subscription service. It's kind of like you have to get on a call with these reps so that they can sell you a package, which to me at first it felt a little slimy, but then I'm also kind of like, that's what we do when we're like, when we're kind of like acquiring customers. Like it's key for us to get on a call with them and understand their personality. But for these platforms, it feels very salesy, very pushy.
Also, that's like the only line of communication you'll have pretty much throughout the entire process. Once you end those initial meetings and you get in, they don't really talk to you unless you try and get their attention because you have a problem. But like, it's not like they are checking in on you or anything. Like, it's just like, all right, good luck.
Yeah, they're definitely not checking in on you. And I mean, you're on an email list where they'll hold like webinars and things like that. And it's like, here's how to get the most out of your storefront sort of thing. But it's all the same information that they already give you. It's kind of like, hey, make sure you have reviews. Make sure you have
like the obvious
photos.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like, make sure all those things are updated. So yeah, we started at $500 a month, which is roughly $6,000 a year. That's a pretty penny. A lot of people will spend way more than that. I don't know if anybody spends like less than that, but I think we're kind of
people
like
do.
A middle of the road tier in terms of like payment. And so what has that like actually gotten us? So I have like our Wedding Pro kind of like storefront open.
Year one, you have the actual stats just out of memory here. I feel like year one was like we barely broke even, but I feel like last year it provided us a couple.
Yeah, I have all of the data that we need, and I also have here. I'll show you. I made a spreadsheet.
Okay.
I made a spreadsheet of not
pie
only
charts
like
and everything.
Every single one of the leads. So I made a spreadsheet for all of the weddings that we booked in 2024, kind of like where they came from, when they reached out to us, and even package price, how much we made, that sort of thing. 2024, who we booked. I went through all of the leads that we've received for wedding dates in 2025, put that into a sheet to track kind of like, all right, how are our like leads performing? Where are they coming from, sort of thing. I did the same thing for 2026. And then I also looked at the ones who converted and kind of like where they came from. So we'll go to that in a little bit. But the actual insights that we get in the last, it's going to show like the last 12 months for us, 4,405 impressions, which just means that's how many people have.
We showed up on someone's screen.
Yes. Not bad.
No, yeah, I don't think that's bad. I think that's a solid number. 4,000 times.
Very middle of the road. The people who actually visited our storefront, clicked on our page, 200 of those 4,000 people, 225.
That's not great.
It also is showing me a stat at the top there that says we're down 46% in the last 30 days. Not good at all.
That's also not great.
Take that with a grain of salt though, because we're in March right now. High like wedding vendor research season is like January and February because people are getting engaged over the holidays.
40% less than that peak time.
Yeah, so I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Okay, that makes a little sense then.
225 visitors, leads, the people who sent out like messages to us in the last 12 months. 55 of the 225.
Okay,
which
that's not bad.
Pretty high.
That's good actually.
25% of the people who visited our storefront sent something to us. Again, needs to be taken with a grain of salt because it's, as you'll see, it's mostly those, pretty much 80% are those like canned messages. Don't get much info at all. Link clicks is the other kind of analytic, which is kind of like they clicked a external link on our storefront. So that could be our website or our social media.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is the other external
We do
link?
want people visiting our website because that's, even our storefronts are set up so there's tons of information on there. Pretty much everything you'd need anyway. But we do want people to visit our website where they can get a little bit more of a sense of us. So out of the 225 people who clicked on our storefront, there's been 103 link clicks. Now there's no real way to
know which link it was.
Yeah, there's one stat on here that says from Wedding Wire that says there's been 3 website clicks in the last 30 days, which is not very many in a month, I would say. Out of 103 people in the last year clicking a link on our storefront and only 3 doing it in the last month, like for our website. Only 3 website clicks. I don't know what other external links these would be, but Yeah, like they could be looking at our social media. They could be looking at, I don't know, something else that's linked there. It could be I think our videos are YouTube links. So I don't know if it counts that. But not great. It's showing that it's kind of like people just kind of glance at our storefront quickly and they're not really doing an in-depth like look at it. There's a new stat called saves. Oh, it says we're having trouble loading this information. So I'm assuming that's kind of like couples who have flagged our store for later or something like that. But they're not giving me any info. So that's interesting in itself. I guess the argument for why our storefront might not be performing the way we want it is we don't have a ton of reviews on Wedding Wire or The Knot because, one, we don't shoot that many weddings in a given year compared to people who are shooting weddings completely full time. Like,
right, we're not shooting 50 weddings a year. We shoot 15.
And so after every wedding we shoot, pretty much all of our, I would say all of our couples have a positive experience. We try to translate that positive experience into a review. And even if they've told us over email, like, we absolutely love everything, not everybody's going to leave a review.
And again, not even just wedding related. I don't blame anyone for not leaving a review because, like, it's annoying and it's, like, something that they wouldn't normally do. They'd have to go out of their way to do it. So, like, in their normal everyday life, finding time to actually do this one thing for us, it's just a favor that we're asking. Like, I get it if they forget. Like, obviously, we'd like it, but it's not, I don't blame them for not doing it. I know they had a good experience, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And I mean, so when we send out review requests, we send them links to our review pages on Google, The Knot, and Wedding Wire. Those are the three places we collect reviews. And we kind of tell them, too, it's like, hey, if you're going to type something out, just like copy and paste it from Google to the other platforms. Like, that's really helpful for us if you don't mind. It's a lot of work for them. Well, it's actually not a lot of work for them. It feels like just another daily task that they have to do. So
for a random favor, it kind of feels like a lot.
So we only have one review on each of the platforms. We have one on The Knot, one on Wedding Wire, both 5 stars, just to clarify. But that could be a reason why our storefront maybe isn't appearing as high as it should, or maybe people aren't, we're not getting as many clicks or something like that. I don't know. Which unfortunately is, we're doing the best we can, and there's only so much we can control. But other than that, all of our storefront items that they tell you to do, how to optimize your storefront, all of those things are completed. Like, we have up-to-date videos, we have up-to-date pricing, we have up-to-date like kind of about sections, things like that. The only thing I haven't added is they have like a calendar availability thing. So it's like, people can look at your availability before they even reach out to you, which I'm kind of like, I don't really want to make that public. So that's like, if that's hurting our search results, that's kind of unfortunate because, like, I don't want to post my calendar to the world.
No, I wouldn't either.
So that's kind of like where we're standing. And then the last kind of like stat is like how many calls. And apparently we've gotten 1 call in the last 12 months from our storefront. I don't know.
I feel like that's not accurate, though.
I don't know whose phone number it is. I got a call.
Oh, you mean like phone? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got a phone call once from a wedding lead. I don't know if they came from Wedding Pro. I don't know why I decided to answer it. I just decided to answer it, and they were like, "Hey, are you like from SeaMount Weddings?" I was like, "Yeah." I was driving. I'm like, she was like, "I want to ask some more questions about X, Y." Yeah, it didn't turn into anything. So I wonder if it was from this or just a random search. So interesting insights there. So that's kind of like the insights that The Knot Wedding Wire is giving us. We pay $6,000, over $6,000 a year now. It's like $6,500 now, and we've gotten 4,405 impressions, which over $1 per impression is very expensive if you're talking about advertising metrics. And then for clicks, 200 clicks, $6,000 for 200 clicks.
That's absurd.
Is pretty expensive as well. Like in if you compare that to like meta ads and things like that, like cost per click is usually like less than $1 in most cases. So I want to go even deeper here. So we started paying for Wedding Pro in April of 2023. And out of all of our 2023 weddings, 0 came from Wedding Pro. We also didn't have that many weddings in 2023. It was kind of like one of those gap years, like 2021, 2022 were crazy wedding years just because of people rescheduling from COVID and stuff. And 2023 was a little bit of a gap year. You know, we were changing things around in our business, changing pricing structures, things like that. So we didn't have a ton in general, but every single one of our weddings in 2023 came from some form of referral, whether it was a past client, a vendor.
Wait, did we have how many? Like how many weddings we actually shot in 2023? Like less than 10?
I don't have that. It was definitely less than 10.
Okay.
It was just a handful, which is fine because we were doing plenty of other things in 2023. 2024. So this is where I start to get more in depth with the stats. 2024, we booked 13 weddings total. 5 of those 13 weddings came from the Wedding Pro platforms. Pretty good. Like almost half of our weddings came from Wedding Pro. Out of those 5 people, out of those 5 couples, 3 of them went through the chat function on Wedding Pro. So like we booked them directly through Wedding Pro. Also a very surprising stat to me. I didn't realize that at first. And then the other 2 saw us on Wedding Pro
and went through our website.
Went through our website, which I'll get more into that in a second, but it seems to be a little bit more of a indicator of a qualified lead.
Correct. Yeah.
So of those 5, 2 found us on Wedding Wire, 3 came from the Knot. And so, yeah, out of all the weddings we booked in 2024, 61% contacted us through our website. So over half contacted us through our website. I wish I had more kind of stats on like the total leads we received, but some of those things, like some of those 2024 wedding date leads are like so far gone, like I don't even have access to them anymore. So we have a little bit of limited data on this. But, you know, we booked 38% of our weddings from Wedding Pro platforms, so they're not Wedding Wire. The next top source from that is referrals. 45% came from referrals, and the remaining 15% came from Google. We had 2 Google weddings, which is great because the only thing we've done on Google, we haven't done any paid advertising on Google, and our Google page, by the time of doing 2024 weddings, our dedicated SeaMount Weddings Google page was fairly new. So we had like our SeaMount Media Google page, and it was kind of funneling weddings into there as well.
Oh, right.
So our Google profile for 2024 weddings was, what's it called? Pretty new. So to get 2 organically from Google was actually pretty interesting. So we pay for these platforms. We've gotten little less than 40% of our converted weddings from them in 2024. Mm-hmm. The key thing is, do you return on your investment? And I tracked based on the kind of like package prices that we booked from these people. We profited $16,000 from the profited. So like minus revenue.
But like 2023 and 2024?
For 2024.
Oh, okay.
I didn't count 2023. So if you count 2023, I guess take another $6,000 out of that, then we profited 10,000.
Oh, right. Because you said we didn't do anything with this.
Yeah, we didn't do any Wedding Pro business in 2023, and we started paying relatively early in the year in April. So I guess, and the thing is too, there's a lot of speculation that, you know, business leads get funneled to you in your first year on the platform. So you're like more like apt to renew.
I don't know how true that is, but it would make sense.
Because I don't know what they can control.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So here's where we have more data. I have more data on the 2025 side of things. I went back through all of our emails, Wedding Pro messages, literally everything. We got our first like inquiry for 2025 back in October of 2023. That's how far back I went.
Wow.
So I have like literally every single one of our leads that we received for 2025 wedding dates, which we've received just over 50. Pretty decent. Because, I mean, again, we're not doing these things full time. And so far, our conversion rate off of those, we have currently, as of the time of recording this episode, we have 8 weddings booked for 2025, which in March is like, we're pretty much on pace to do what we set out to do, anywhere from 10 to 15 weddings a year. You know, some people will be fully booked out at this point in the year. I mean, we're probably not appearing as high as some of these other vendors on search platforms like Wedding Pro, Google, maybe even Instagram, things like that. So for us, we're pretty much, I feel like we're on pace.
Yeah, no, I think we're satisfied with where we're at right now.
So of those leads, we're at like a 15.7% conversion rate out of like the 50 something leads we've received. So here's where the data is very interesting. We've received over half of our leads from Wedding Pro. Very interesting, right? And a staggering amount of those leads came from Wedding Wire. So 45% of all of our leads came from Wedding Wire. The problem with that, though, is the trend I've noticed from all of the Wedding Wire leads is that they send out that canned response or a canned message to you. We reply. They tell you to reply within 3 hours, ask them a question, and there's like 3 check marks you need to hit for each reply.
Basically, you do everything they told you to do.
Yeah. So we do everything they tell us to do. Answer them if they ask a question. Ask them a question to keep the conversation going, and reply quickly. Reply within 3 hours. And we do that pretty much every single time. The trend that I notice with Wedding Wire is they almost will always never reply after the first initial message.
Wedding Wire
almost always.
Yeah, it's definitely, from our experience, seems to be like the lesser quality lead between that and the not.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that some of these leads, with the amount of information we've fed Wedding Pro, the poor quality of the leads that come in is
isn't it
pretty
like
staggering.
So many of the questions that they ask, like the answer is somewhere in our storefront normally?
Yes.
It's like if you spent
our pricing
60
is there.
seconds looking at our storefront, you would have known this answer.
Yeah. Our pricing is there. Our films are there. You should know everything about us already before you even reach out. So the fact that you send a canned message that says, can you send us more information? We don't really have more information to send you. So, and the other thing is too, there's some cases where I think couples can enter their budget. And so like I'll get a Wedding Wire lead and it says their budget is like $1,500. And I'm like, I don't understand why this couple is reaching out to us when we clearly have our prices listed there and it's well above $1,500. So it's essentially just a waste of a lead, just honestly, probably fake. Something that's being funneled towards our business to look like we're receiving leads from the amount that we're paying to these platforms. So yeah, usually they'll send that canned response and then they'll completely ghost us after that. And the amount of leads that fully ghost us after the first inquiry, 40%, 41% of our leads, which is similar to the number of leads that we receive from Wedding Wire and the contacts that we get from Wedding Pro. They translate a little bit. I mean, obviously people will reach out to through our website and, not ever answer us after that first message as well. So take that with a grain of salt. There's a lot of them that they'll send kind of like one reply to our reply. And then after that, it's ghost. Usually their second question is, can you send us detailed package information, packaging and pricing? Because they're just looking for the best price. And 9 times out of 10, after we send that, no reply. We haven't even booked that many calls from getting people reaching out to us on the Wedding Pro platforms. So like even getting people on calls is just insanely difficult.
Wait, so 2025, it was 50 leads?
Yeah.
So far from them?
51 leads.
Okay, out of that, how many turned into Zoom calls?
Let's see. Well, I guess because some of them are kind of like we booked a call with them and then they didn't they either denied us or kind of like ghosted us after the call. So I guess I'll look at the leads we converted for 2025 sort of thing. So I said 8 weddings. Okay. Zero of the 8 weddings. So I mentioned in 2024, 3 of those couples had reached out to us through the Wedding Pro chat. 0 for 2025 have reached out to us through the Wedding Pro chat. So this is following the trend of, hey, your first year, you're going to get a lot more kind of like people funneled to you. And then like your second year, it's kind of like, whatever, we're going to focus on the new people who are signing up for the platform. For 2025, only 1 of our couples has come from any Wedding Pro related thing. And they came from Wedding Wire, and they booked us, but they contacted us through our website form. So very interesting stats there. The rest, over half is referrals, or just about half is referrals. 1, 2, 3, 4. So exactly half is some form of referral. 3 vendor referrals, 1 kind of like friend, family referral. Oh no, over half are referrals because one of them is a client referral as well. So 1 is a past couple referral. 3 are from vendors. 1 is from family, like people who know us. Then we have a Google one and an Instagram one. So by paying $6,000, we have the same amount of booked weddings as our free marketing in Google and Instagram. We actually have more from free marketing, word of mouth, Google and Instagram. So we're in the hole this year currently with our Wedding Pro subscription. So very interesting that it seems to be kind of like following the trend that people are talking about. We're just getting not a lot of qualified leads. Some of them even seem to be fake. So very interesting. I also want to touch briefly on 2026 because we only have 1 wedding booked for 2026 currently. They did come from the Knot, but they also contacted us through our website form. Okay. They didn't reach out to us through like Wedding Pros platforms. So very interesting data to look at, but what it's kind of telling me is that just the quality of leads on these platforms is pretty poor for what we're paying for. And I'm disappointed in that because of the information that we supply on our storefronts, that some of these leads just aren't qualified. And I'm like, I would rather talk to less leads that are more qualified and have like a higher conversion rate than just reply blindly to these messages that I know they're just going to ghost us. I actually want to, we received a lead yesterday. I want to talk about this one specifically because it's ridiculous to me.
What did they say?
Or 2 days ago. I'm not going to say like the person's name, but like in their name, it says wedding manager at like a hotel. So it's like a venue. It says, hi, we're getting married on 3/19. There's a typo. It says 2205. 3/19/2025. You can, they're not getting married in 200 years. And would love to learn more about your services. Could you please send some additional information? By the way, this is the classic format that 90% of the leads come in. Hi, we're getting married on date and would love to learn more about your services. Could you please send us some additional information? Well, like, what do we get from that? There's nothing for us to work off of. I don't know the fiance's name.
All we
I don't
know
know
is that
how they
their
met.
wedding is in like a week.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm like, okay, the wedding's in, at this point, 6 days from today. I just said we weren't available, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But this is kind of like and this is from Wedding Wire. This is the quality of leads that we're getting from this platform. And clearly it's also not a couple. It says wedding manager at this venue. So is this like a coordinator who's reaching out on behalf of somebody? Is this somebody who works for Wedding Pro? Who knows? Yeah, same thing. Another one we received late in February. Hi, we're getting married on date. We're interested in SeaMount weddings for our wedding. Maybe they change that up, or maybe that's just kind of like another canned response you can send. Could you please send us some more information about your services? Again, all of our information is on our storefront or on our website. So my first reply to these people is always kind of like, hey, here is a little bit about us, brief background. Or first we say, hey, we're available for your date or we're not available. Send us some background. First thing I try to do is make sure they've actually like watched something of ours. Say, hey, you can view some of our films here. Actually, this one specifically that I'm reading, they didn't have a venue listed. I said, where is your wedding located? Do you have a venue? Because that's like a huge thing to qualify if they're a real person or not. They replied to us, we are interested, yes, in both cinematography as well as photography. Is that something you provide? It does not say we provide photography anywhere. And if they did any form of brief research, if they look at our storefront for like 2 seconds, they would figure out that we only offer videography.
And also, did they not answer your question? Like,
they did not answer my question of where is your wedding located.
Yeah.
So I replied, I said, our company only provides videography, yada, yada, yada. I said, we have countless photographers that we worked with that we can refer you to. I followed up with the same question.
and again,
Where is your
where's
wedding
the venue?
located this November, like on your date? This is important for us to know early on in the process so we can plan accordingly. It's like, we will be getting married in, then they just named the town. They didn't name a specific venue, anything like
That's
that. So I'm like,
sus.
all right, this is a fake lead. Other thing, their budget is listed on the side as $1,500 to $2,000. I'm like, okay. Like this is, and it's just a first name person.
Yeah, that's fake.
Fake lead. The great thing about getting leads through, and that was from Wedding Wire as well. The great thing about getting leads from the Knot is you get a lot more information in the sidebar. They'll have the date, the location, number of guests usually, because I think the Knot requires you to do that if you have profile with them. The name of their partner. So I can know this is like a legit person. And if you do it through the Knot and you made a wedding website, it shows us that. So I can click into their wedding website and just vet if this is like a real couple. And yeah, so this was a real couple. We saw your portfolio on the Knot and we're impressed. We're getting married on this date and would like to know about your packages and pricing. So real couple, but they're only interested in packages and pricing. Again, that stuff is listed on our storefront, so they can find that. So they're a real couple, but they still didn't do enough kind of like research. So I'm also starting to notice a trend with, even with the Knot, which tends to have more qualified leads. Even those people aren't as qualified as we'd want them to be because they're sending out messages to a lot of people. And what I'm finding is we have more success in getting replies to people who go to our website and inquire through our website.
Right.
Which is kind of like, how are we looking to use Wedding Pro as a tool? It seems more as kind of like a search engine optimization thing. It's just another place in the internet where our information is. And I feel like trying to funnel those leads to our website is probably going to lead to more success than what the what Wedding Pro offers.
Yeah, rather than using it natively how they're intending it to be used, it's clearly better for us if it's like the transition to send them to the website. If it's even worth it to do it for that, which is the question, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess a little bit of kind of like, just to kind of like wrap all this up and kind of give our 2 cents on like our opinion of these platforms. I think that the quality of leads coming from these platforms for the price that you pay isn't really that worth it anymore. I'm still going to give it more time to see, hey, how does like 2025 shake out? Is it worth kind of like staying on these platforms? Because the other thing is too, there's some vendors out there who have free storefronts. Like they don't pay a dime for Wedding Pro. They have them on their just input with basic information. Obviously they're not ranking high when people are like searching for them. But people can like leave reviews on there if you get couples, if you don't want them to like do Google or something like that, you can have them leave a review on these platforms, and then you can kind of like organically climb up the ladder. But it's impossible to compete with the people who are paying for the platform. And I've heard stories that like now there's essentially no way you can sign up for a free account on these platforms anymore. I think all those people who have free accounts are kind of like just grandfathered in. It's kind of, it's impossible to navigate without being prompted to pay for something, which is kind of shady in itself.
So, I mean, the initial reason that we even started this was actually because of me. I brought this idea to you, and I never thought we would do it. Honestly, like, we were shooting weddings for a while. It would never really cross my mind until a friend of mine who is a very respected wedding videographer in this region talked to me about it, and he recommended that we should try it because he said that he's had success with it. And I was like, I was pretty new to the industry at the time, so I was like, if this guy's telling me to do it, I trust his opinion. He is clearly one of the best in the region. Like, he must know what he's talking about. So that's why we initially signed up for it. I would be curious to ask him now, after years and years of like experience and like what's changed with his business and his potential relationship with this platform. Like, is he still even on it? Who knows?
Yeah, it's like, what are they paying now? And also, too, the thing to consider is kind of like the value of your package price based on how much you're spending on advertising. So I mean, in this case specifically, they're in a pretty high budget bracket.
Yeah.
Which I've noticed since we've kind of like, we've increased our prices. And since that has happened, like the lead response from these platforms has been less. And my assumption is that people who are considered price shoppers are gravitating towards these platforms just to find like volume and find the best price out there. They're not really interested in actually looking at your films and seeing if it's something they connect with. They're just concerned about the number. And that's an assumption, but I think a lot of people would attest to that, you know? And technically we only need to book like a couple weddings to actually return or break even on our investment. You know, we had to book more before to make it worth it. And now we have to book less. But the problem is, even with the volume of leads we're receiving, none of them are qualified. So it's hard to even book any at all, you know, from these platforms. So very interesting. I guess I'll leave it with a story that I heard on another podcast that was talking about like vendor platforms and the pay to play game. This was from Zola. So again, I can't verify if this is true information or not, but they received just kind of like one of these, you know, generic leads on Zola. And the other thing about Zola too is what I've heard is that you have to buy credits to reply to leads.
That's horrible.
Which is awful. I'm like, all right, either pay for a storefront and then like be able to respond to everybody that comes in, or like, I don't know. It's a crappy system in my opinion. But anyway, this particular vendor was like fed up with the poor quality of leads they were getting from Zola. So they decided to call the phone number attached to that Zola lead. And apparently what went down was somebody answered. They tried to put this vendor on hold, but apparently they didn't like mute or anything like that. And from the vendor's perspective, it sounded like they made a call to somebody else, trying to reference a case ID number or something like that, or like some sort of like a just client ID sort of thing. It's like, this is interesting. This supposed like couple or bridegroom, whatever, gets back on the phone with the vendor and starts what sounds like reading a script of maybe some details about their quote wedding sort of thing. And so this vendor is kind of like, I know what's going on here, and says to the, you know, fake bride or whatever, like, hey, you call them out like, hey, I know you're probably like just a Zola employee, like posing as a fake lead. Like, please don't waste any more of my time. And apparently what was said was, from the, you know, fake client side of things, was they like whispered to somebody off to the side, I think he's on to us sort of thing. again, I can't verify if that's true. I'm hearing that secondhand from another podcast. If that's true, like, and this is the kind of thing that's happening on these platforms where leads are being artificially generated to kind of like make it look like you're returning more on your investment than you are, and that's like really shady. That's like fraud, illegal level stuff. Again, I'm not going to claim that that's true information because I don't know. It's just what I've heard.
Interesting.
And I don't doubt it based on some of the quality
honestly,
of things that we've seen. And I guess also too, like, I mean, if you're a couple planning your wedding, listening to this, thinking if you should use these platforms to plan your wedding, I think it is a pretty good resource. I've asked couples directly who have came to us from these platforms, like, how did you like using these platforms? Like, was it helpful to you? And it's been kind of mixed from that side of it too. It hasn't been like, oh, this has been a lifesaver. Like, I couldn't have planned my wedding without it. It's like kind of useful. The wedding website thing was great, but finding good vendors was hard. And I mean, it's probably because a lot of those studios are the pay to play thing, and some of those vendors aren't as reputable as just kind of like solo run operations.
I mean, I still think it's worth it for the couple side
to
use these platforms. It's free, and it's a much easier and convenient way to at least find options.
Yeah.
Versus if you were to do it on your own, like, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
So at least it can give you options. It'll still take some time to sift through them all, but if it's not going to cost you anything, I think for the couples, it's still worth it.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that it's a free platform with all of these supposed resources, and there's not like really raving reviews. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I feel like couples who are reaching out to us through these platforms, I feel like if I ask them like, hey, how has this helped you? If these platforms are really worth it, like, those couples should be raving about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel, at least.
That's very true. Yeah.
And I think from the vendor perspective, I haven't heard of anybody in the photo video industry who's really raved about these platforms. Maybe other than kind of like our friend who turned us onto it in the first place. But it's been mostly negative. In the last 2
years, I feel like we have had the best experience out of everyone I've talked to.
Yeah.
And that I know personally.
Yeah. And I mean...
And it's not like our experience has been great.
Well, because we follow all of the checklist items and things that they tell you to do. And yeah, sure, all of those are good business practices in general. So, I mean, maybe other people aren't kind of like following up as much as you need. I follow up on these platforms. The people that I know are probably just going to ghost me anyway. I do it anyway just to say, hey, this is what I can control. I can't control the quality of this person that's allegedly reaching out to me. But yeah, so very interesting. Us as business owners, we're definitely going to take a hard look at it going into 2026, evaluate what happened at the end of 2025, see if it really helped us. I mean, right now, as of 2025, we're in the hole. You don't want to be in the hole anytime you're paying for advertising.
It's still a thing that you pay for leads. Yeah. So like, we're not paying for conversions. At least we understand that. A lot of people get pissed off because, we're not converting. It's like, it's not what you signed up for. In reality, you signed up to get leads. Have you gotten leads? Yes. Are they all qualified? No, but you still got leads. So like, technically on paper, they did what they said they were going to do. Yeah. Whether or not it's worth it, that's for you to decide. But for us personally, it's about getting leads. And fortunately, we have now, in this area, this region that we're in, like, kind of made a name for ourselves. So the referrals, I think, in the next year or two are going to skyrocket. Yeah. Because people in this region just now know us. So like, we probably won't have to rely on these types of lead generation things much more going forward, because I'm pretty optimistic that those referral leads are going to skyrocket in the next 2 years. Yeah, exactly. Referral for any line of business will probably always be your strongest source of a qualified potential customer, because like, they already have some form of trust in you. Mm-hmm. And I guess my parting wish for Wedding Pro is like, they have technically fulfilled their obligation of making sure our website or our storefront is seen in the rankings where it needs to be seen. I wish there was a way that they could qualify couples more so that we're receiving qualified leads. And that would make me feel better about my investment. If they don't change that,
I don't think I would continue investing into these platforms. We've given all of the information on our storefront, and based on that information, the people who are reaching out to us should be qualified, and they're not. So if that doesn't change, I don't see a benefit in reinvesting into this platform. I know recently they got a new kind of like CEO at the head of like Wedding Pro. The previous CEO stepped down, maybe because they saw how shady things were. But I think it's like within the past few months, they have like a new person at the helm. So hopefully some things start changing. I doubt it, because it's just, they're just trying to make money.
Just money, yeah.
It's all about money. So I don't know how much things will change for us. But we'll continue to, get our referrals. We post it on social, getting reviews on Google. Our SEO is pretty decent right now in terms of like keywords. So if we can keep that going, I think we'll be just fine. Any other parting thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree. I think we'll see how the rest of 2025 pans out. If we even get one for 2025, we'll see.
We'll see.
And we'll just go from there.
We'll see. All right. Awesome. Well, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you leave a 5-star review on Spotify, a like on YouTube. And if you have any experiences with Wedding Pro yourself, we'd love to hear about them in the comments section below, wherever you're watching, listening. Definitely want to hear from you, see what you guys are thinking. And whether you're a vendor or a couple, definitely want to know your experiences with the platform so we can help people make kind of like informed decisions. But yeah, subscribe on all of our places, wherever you get you podcast. Follow us on Instagram at SeaMount Weddings. And if you're looking to book a wedding yourself, please head over to SeaMountWeddings.com. Don't go to Wedding Pro.
Wedding
Head over to SeaMountWeddings.com, and we'd be happy to chat. All right. That about does it. See you guys later.